Welcome back to Bleacher Talk. I'm Jordan Spurgeon alongside Claudia Collins, and we are reaching the end of the Arizona high school regular season. Big rivalry matchups this week. Playoffs start next week. Lots of things can change in the open division, as well as, of course, 6A, 5A, 4A. And that's just for big schools. For the small schools, 3A, 2A, playoffs start this week. It's really flying by, but Claudia, this is the best time of the year for high school football.
It's absolutely the best time of the year. And I think this is the first year that we've been covering Arizona high school football that we've seen so much change this late in the season, which is really keeping everybody on their toes. And it's a lot of fun. But also, I think that you might be feeling a little bit on your toes, Spurge, because Coop is right behind you in quick picks. Spurge currently has the lead at 25-5. Coop, you're 24-6. And I'm 20-10, so I think I'm out for the season, but I'm going to keep things rolling along. And we talked about it already, big rivalry weekend. So let's just jump into those matchups. The Awatuki Bowl, Mountain Point at Desert Vista. Coop, I'll let you lead us off.
Well, it's been a really, really rough year one for Scooter Molander and his Desert Vista Thunder. But I tell you what, we've seen rivalry games before where you just throw out the records. This would mean everything for the Thunder. It would erase the stain of a really, really bad season. But I just don't see it happening. I think Eric Lauer and his Mountain Point Pride, they just have too much talent. Yeah, give me the Mountain Point Pride in this one, 28-14.
Coop, I can't disagree with what you're saying. I do think that Scooter Molander is a great fit for the program. And it's a culture shift. It's going to take time. I mean, if you think of where they were a year ago today, this is still, in my eyes, an improvement. And Mountain Point, I think, is actually kind of struggling for the first time this season. But mind you, that comes with a pretty difficult schedule. I think that Mountain Point has a little bit more figured out, and that's kind of to be expected. So I also have to go with the Pride. I do think it's going to be a little higher scoring than that, though. So I'm going to go 34-14. All right, Spurge.
Yeah, you both have touched on it all. Scooter Molander, give him a couple years. He's the fourth coach in 4 years over there at Desert Vista. The culture obviously just needs to continue to shift. And yes, there was some success sprinkled in those 4 years, but it has been a lot of downs. And so they're on the right track. They've got the right guy, and they're going to be just fine in the future. But Mountain Point, like we said, I mean, to me, yes, they've had a very difficult schedule, but they're still a team that has a chance to go far in the 6A playoffs. I don't expect them to end up being a championship team like maybe some thought before the season could be a possibility. I think the 6A bracket is absolutely loaded this year, but the Pride are not going to bow down. They're going to be just fine and get into the playoffs, with a win to end the season and kind of build some momentum going into the postseason. So give me Eric Lauer and his Mountain Point Pride 35-20.
All right, the next matchup, which is arguably one of the best of the weekend, is Centennial at Liberty. I'll start us off. It's hard to argue that I think media is going to have their eye on this game, one eye on this game, and one on the next one we're going to talk about. And I think for all of us, we could go either way with this matchup. Centennial is looking to have an undefeated regular season. What a time to be playing Liberty. And then you look at Liberty, and their only loss is against Centennial in California. Centennial is top of everyone's radar this season and somehow still underrated. I haven't picked against Liberty at all this season. I did it a ton last season and regretted it every time I did. But I think this week I am going with the Coyotes, and I'm going to take it in a close matchup. Let's just go 34-31. Spurge, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this one all morning. I mean, what Coach Taylor has done with the Coyotes this year, I think people forgot about them the last couple of years. And I think with the way the West Side has grown, I think a lot of kids were kind of choosing, okay, Desert Edge is hot, and they've got the Carter twins who are amazing coaches. They get all these great kids, and Liberty's on the rise. So maybe we go there. And all of a sudden now Richard Taylor has gotten that talent to kind of stick around Centennial, where they've historically gone. The best players on the West Side have historically gone there, and they're able to match all of the talent over there on the West Side and throughout the whole Valley, of course, because there's a reason these two teams are 1 and 2 in the open rankings. And however this game plays out, I would still leave them at 1 and 2, even if Liberty ends up with their second loss, because these are the best two teams in Arizona this year. We're going to see them in the open title against each other in all likelihood. I really do believe that. I think this is a preview for the rematch. So in this game, I'm going to take the Liberty Lions over the Coyotes. They're going to take down the undefeated season for Centennial, but that doesn't mean that's how it's going to end. I'll leave it on that tease, but I'm going to take Liberty 41, Centennial 32.
Split decision, Coop.
I've been amazed by how Richard Taylor has formed the Coyotes into arguably the best defensive team in high school football in the state. I mean, and we all know that old axiom that defense wins championships. Man, I have to go back to what Claudia said. She said something like, every time she bet against Liberty, it came back to bite her. I think that's where I'm going to lean, despite the fact that Centennial just has such a phenomenal defensive team. So give me the Liberty Lions 14, Centennial 13.
All right. Well, if the Lions will win, you're welcome, I guess, because that's how it goes for me. All right. The last matchup, the battle for Arizona Avenue, Hamilton against Chandler. Coop, lead us off with this legendary rivalry.
Mike Zadevsky and his Huskies, I mean, they've put it all together. They've been really rolling. I mean, their only other loss was like a 1-point squeaker to the defending champion Basha Bears. And I think Bash is probably I believe the only common team between Chandler and Hamilton. I just think the difference may come down to quarterback play. And right now, Blake Heffron is really opening some eyes. I mean, this guy went toe to toe with Damon Williams a couple weeks ago, and so it just has me saying that, look, I know it's a rivalry game, anything can happen, but I got to go with the Chandler Wolves here, just based on what I'm seeing from the quarterback play. So give me Chandler 38, Hamilton 35.
Yeah, this rivalry has been very streaky back and forth. It seems like one team dominates for a few years and the next team does. And then, the last 2 years it's been Hamilton. And I'm pretty sure the last 2 years, all three of us picked Hamilton to win. But it does feel like the tides are going back to the Wolves. I was very impressed with them against Basha. Blake Heffron, like you mentioned, Coop. I mean, he is just unbelievable. They've got playmakers all over the field. And we talked about Centennial's defense. The secondary for Chandler, I think, is the best secondary in the state. They've got some dudes back there, length, speed, agility, they've hands, everything back there. And so I just think they're going to make more plays defensively in the secondary and force a few more turnovers than Hamilton will be able to. And so give me the Wolves in this one. In the battle for Arizona Avenue, they're going to reclaim the title after 2 years off. I'm going to take Chandler 41, Hamilton 35.
It's kind of the whole trio at Chandler that I'd have to talk about. Blake Heffron and then Khalil Valentine is extremely impressive. One of the quickest players that I've seen. Jackson Branch, I know he just is coming off a great week. Chandler just blew over Perry. I just feel a little bit more sure about the Wolves this season. So I'm going to have to agree, and I'll make it close too, because that's how we want rivalry games to go. So I'm going to go with the same one I said before. I'll say 34-31 to make it fun. And that wraps up, I guess, the final week of regular season quick picks. Now it's all playoff time. How does that feel, Spurge?
It's crazy. And Claudia, I'm going to say it as the guy that's been in first place most of the year. Maybe we'll come up with some sort of multiplier in the playoffs for you to kind of give you a chance to climb back up. We'll play around with that in the postseason.
We'll have to see, but stick around when we come back. I'm over at Arizona College Prep sitting down with a parent for our Bleacher Talk segment. What's up, everyone? Welcome back into Bleacher Talk. I'm Claudia Collins, Jordan Spurgeon here. And every week we're bringing you a lot of new fun stuff out of Arizona high school football. A few weeks ago, I sat down with two parents over at Arizona College Prep just to get an inside look at ACP's culture and the things that they're doing over there. Let's take a look. I have to start with the obvious and the fun question. Your son got an offer today.
Yes.
It was a big one. One of you was in the loop. One of you was not. Give me the background on this.
That was great. So my buddy, Dave Burr, he reaches out to me today and says, hey, I just wanted to tell Mason congratulations on his offer today. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I saw you got another offer. And I was like, so I rushed to Twitter. And then next thing you know, I sent him a direct message and said, hey, you didn't even tell me about this. What's going on? So he sends back a DM later laughing and saying, the offer came in really late last night. So I called my wife, I called Amanda, and I go, Amanda, what's going on? I was like, you basically got an offer like yesterday? And she goes, oh yeah, he told me about it this morning. And I was like, what are you going to tell me?
How has recruitment, playing college football, how have those conversations been in your household? And like, what's your kind of method behind helping him out in whatever he wants to do?
Started playing tackle football in 9th grade, and he was like quarterback. It's a interesting experience playing QB, and then his sophomore year he got to play a bunch of different positions and really loved defense and did really well there. So his junior year he had a great season. He was a second team all-region. He got into the third game. He was a junior and he did great. And then he started talking to us saying, hey, I think I want to play football in college. And Coach Blue's great, and the whole coaching staff, they do a really nice job. I think they have the most kids this year they've ever had that have gotten offers, more than 10. And he talks about looking at like 40-year schools where you get a great education and get a great career afterwards and doing something you want to do. And if you get to play football, it's a bonus.
How important is it for you, Mom, for him to do well in school?
I think it's the priority, definitely. And I think that's the basis of this program. And from the start, he's been with ACP Erie since 7th grade. And they have a good core group. And it's always been academics first.
Multi-sport athlete. What benefits do you see to that?
Tons.
Yeah, lots. It keeps him busy,
Yeah.
right? That kind of thing.
I'm a big proponent of it, and I grew up playing multi-sports. So I've always told them, I feel like you learn different things, different coaching standpoint from all of them.
Basketball, a son that plays basketball and football. So who's the most competitive in the family?
But I'm a quiet competitor. I'm very quiet.
She's the most competitive by far.
I always ask, what do the kids learn from playing football? What do they learn from playing sports? What have you learned in 4 years of watching your son participate in high school sports?
Patience.
Yeah, patience.
What goes into being a part of this sport that's special?
I think being a leader, being a good teammate, adversity, struggle. He's involved with the Student Leadership Advisory Council, SLAC. He started his freshman year with that, so leadership as well, representing the student voice for the sports council at the school. Then he was doing it for the CUSD, and now he does it at the state level with AIAs.
It's funny that SLAC is the acronym for something that's really nothing like slacking at all.
I know.
Doesn't quite add up the bond of a football team. I'm sure you've seen it up close. What does that look like?
They all went through COVID together their freshman year, and I think that was a really important time. All these seniors that have been together since seventh grade. But yeah, I honestly think the turning point was COVID for freshman year.
And Coach Blue and the school and just the culture here,
yeah.
What they've been able to do for that, I think I've seen it with just about every class, but through all the trials and tribulations, through injuries or bad games or getting a starting spot or losing a starting spot, they're all there. They pick each other up, they encourage each other, they push each other, they help each other out. We see it all the time and are always there for each other, and it's fantastic. It's what you'd hope for.
What is your favorite memory in the last 4 years of watching him play football?
We would like to give thank you.
There's many, but I mean, honestly, at the end of the game, of each game, when Mason gets with all his friends, and they take that picture and they're all together, and that's their group, that's his tribe, and it's been like that again since 7th grade, and I'm going to be sad, when it comes to an end, but I honestly, that is the best thing to see.
For me, I like it when I get to take the picture with Mom. He comes over, always gives Mom a hug. I don't always get that, but she does. That's good. But we have a picture on our wall at home when his brother played freshman year. So Chase is a freshman, Mason was a sophomore. We have a picture of them both standing next to each other out on the football field, and we have that framed up on the wall. So that's a memory we'll always have, too, of the both of them.
Yeah.
This segment has been so much fun, Claudia. I love seeing what the parents are up to because, yes, we're focused on the kids on the field every single week, but the parents are there even more focused than we are, just dialed in, watching their kids play and getting an inside scoop at just how the teams work. They know a lot of things. So super fun, super glad you're doing that. We love seeing that segment, and maybe we'll get to see some during the playoffs. But for now, stick around on Bleacher Talk because next up, we're going to bring in Eliav Goodbye for some social spotlight. We're not done yet. We can't finish a Bleacher Talk show without bringing in our guy, Eliav Goodbye, for some social spotlight. I'm Jordan Spurgeon alongside Claudia Collins. So, Eliav, a lot's been happening. I'll be completely honest. I have not been as in tune on social media the last couple of Friday nights. I think there's been a little bit of a busier story for myself. Claudia's pointing, the Diamondbacks. So, last week, you were the guy. Well, Claudia was on a baby moon as well. What did we miss? What do we need to know?
Well, I got y'all. Don't worry. I got y'all every week, and that's not different this week. Claudia, I know you're excited about this one. Finally, Elijah Rushing, after decommitting from U of A, is back, and he is going to Oregon. Shout out Elijah Rushing, obviously one of the top prospects, especially at a South Point Catholic. And speaking of decommitments, Jaden Matthews decommitted from Georgia Tech, and he reopened his search. So I'm going to toss it off to you first, Claudia. Obviously, you are our recruiting queen. What is going on? And honestly, I like to see these players having second thoughts and really thinking again about their future.
We see a lot of it. I feel like, honestly, committing and decommitting is becoming more and more common. So it almost feels like these verbal commitments early in the year are kind of just like a placeholder for a lot of players, which I understand. There's other elements like NIL and the transfer portal and all these things that now come into play that didn't used to be a thing. And so I think it kind of complicates the recruiting process. I know it was a huge disappointment for the University of Arizona fans. He's, hometown boy. It really sounded like he wanted to stay at U of A. I don't know what happened there. Obviously, I hope these guys are making the best decisions for themselves, and we're wishing the best for them. But yeah, just take these verbal commitments as a placeholder until they put pen to paper. There is no telling where these guys are going to go. That's what I've got on that.
For those wondering, every week, Claudia Collins recruiting roundup. She does that for us all over recruiting news.
Always need a plug. That's for sure. Well, the next one here is a feel good. We've talked about Kevin Weinegar in the past, and we're so happy to see that he is back on the field. And throughout his battle with leukemia, Cardinals linebacker Dennis Gardeck has been one of his friends throughout the battle. That's something you love to see. Kevin said, according to Zach Alviro, who posted this, thank you to our guy Zach, Kevin said Gardeck gave him his captain's patch, which he'll wear on his jersey for senior night against Apache Junction. Spurge, I'm tossing this one to you because this is just feel good, and I cannot wait to see him wearing that captain's patch.
It feels good. He's had a long journey. He's gone through a lot of things. And honestly, he's a really good player too, before this and after. On the first play, Zach said he had a tackle for loss in the backfield. So his first play back, he got after it. And he's going to be a guy that, this is an East Mark team looking to make a run. He's going to have an impact on this. My message to him is, hey, tragedy kind of brings growth and brings other opportunities in life that you never would have seen coming. And I feel like he's totally embracing that. So congrats, Kevin. And we're so excited to see you out there.
Now, we'll wrap things up with some NAU football. Casa Grande alum Angel Flores, the APS player of the game for the Lumberjacks. I know, Claudia, you love that.
I do. Honestly, I think about my very first season covering Arizona high school football and actually getting the opportunity to go down to Casa Grande and checking out the team and he immediately stood out. I know all of us that were covering high school football at the time remembered him, his commitment to NAU, and thinking this is a great fit for him. I'd love to see the in-state schools pulling from in-state. But yeah, we're always rooting for Angel.
Yeah, he's a big time player, helped lead them to a 4A title a couple years ago. And at the time, I mean, there was, a lot of us were saying he looked like the best quarterback in the state, and NAU got a steal in him. And so this is a team to watch out for with all the recruiting they've done out here. And he might be the one leading the charge. They've got a couple quarterbacks from in-state over there, but right now he's the one standing above the crowd. So it's great to see Angel having a good time out there.
Eliav, thank you so much for always leading the way in our social spotlight segment. Thanks again for joining us on Bleacher Talk. We'll see you next week.